Hello, friends. This Easter, I was watching Ten Commandments. I've seen that movie so many times, but while watching, and particularly a scene where Israelites cross over, or the sea was parted, and they cross over on a dry ground in one night, the sea, and I realized that the, this is not an ordinary event. Not about, I'm not talking about the opening of the sea, but the magnitude of that work is beyond our understanding. Think about this. When Israelites went to Egypt, they were 70. And after so many generations passed by, when God delivered them from the bondage that night, Israelites were delivered from the bondage from Egyptians that night, and they were, some scholars believe that they were close to 2 to 3 million people. Now, just imagine that 2 to 3 million people are standing by the sea and thinking how they will cross over or what will happen. And God parted the sea. We saw in the movie, but the how much sea was parted? If they are walking, suppose 2 to 3 million people walking one after another, just like in a single line, that line would be about 800 miles long, and it would require close to 35 days and night non-stop walking. But they did cross over in one night. What it says, that the sea must have been parted 3 mile wide. There was an opening of 3 mile wide in the sea, so Israel, all 2 to 3 million people can cross over in one night. What about the camping area they needed every night or every day? They need at least 750 square mile of area. What about food? In modern day terms, if they are using a freight train to bring the food for 2 to 3 million people, you need a 1 mile long, three trains, not one, three trains, each one 1 mile long. And the food would be close to about 2,000 tons. That would be equivalent to 4 million pounds of food every single day. They were cooking. They need a wood, and you need about 4,000 tons or 8 million pounds of wood you'd need for each day. They were drinking water. You need 11 million gallons of water. And if they are bringing that, if you want to bring water for 2 to 3 million people each day, you need a 1,800 mile long tanker train. And God miraculously provided, not for one day, not for 2 days, not for 3 days, 40 years. Think about their, Bible says that their clothes never worn out, their shoes never worn out. Some people who left that night Egypt were babies. They grew. And I believe that, when I was thinking, I believe that their shoes and their clothes supernaturally grew with them. They never worn out. They never need another pair. In the desert, there is a very hot sun in the daytime. And God says, okay, for my people, I have to provide a shadow. And God provided a pillar of cloud to bring cool or shadow over them. What about night? When in the wilderness, it gets very cold. There is darkness. God brought a pillar of fire in the night that will provide them light and warmth. This provisions was not for a short amount of time of one-time event. God provided for them for 40 years. So now think about what just happened that night. God parted a sea 3 mile wide. They walk on a dry ground. How you get a dry ground at the bottom of sea? But Bible said that it was a dry ground. The food every day, 2,000 tons of food, 4,000 tons of wood, 11 million gallons of water every single day for 40 years. They never get sick. God provided them health, their food, their clothing, their shelter for 40 years. And Bible says that the none were feeble. The people who left, Bible says that none were feeble. Think about that. The person, some people must be old. They were born in bondage and they grew old in a bondage, and their back must be hurting. But the night then when they were delivered, Bible said none were feeble. Feeble means there was no shaking due to old age. That is a feeble. When we get old, our body lose strength and we become weak and we shake. But Bible says that none were feeble. When they must have went to bed that night or previous night, their body was aching due to the tremendous labor they had bear throughout these years. Those old people who must be at old age. But then when they left, somehow miraculously, their health was restored. None were feeble. Bible says that. So when you read this Exodus story, the deliverance that God provided, it is nobody can comprehend what God did for them. And that same God has called you and me his sons and daughters, and he loves us so much. And he can move heaven and earth to meet our need because he loves us. I hope you can trust him with your life. God bless you.